Hi guys, and welcome to The Big Shift with me, Stephen Gillen. We're going to deep dive and give you the most raw entertainment and content, the latest current issues and transformational stories in business, entrepreneurship, crime and entertainment. The Big Shift, where everything is possible. Hi guys, welcome to The Big Shift. I'm Stephen Gillen. This is the channel where we get right down to it and we bring the valuable content for you. We get top influencers, top experts around the world in many different industries, and we unearth the real jewels that they have, the innovations and the learnings that they have and how they got unbelievably successful. So today we're going to go into the world of organized crime, high security prisons, criminality. And I've got someone who done over 32 years in prison, and we're going to go head to head and we're going to find out what choosing that path is really like. Yammy, thanks for coming on The Big Shift.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to see you, Steve. And, you know, who would have thought it over 40 years ago? We'd have been deadly enemies, and one day we'll be friends in a better walk of life. And to see you out the other side also, Steve, gives me great pleasure. And yeah, we just look forward to an even better year next year by giving back to the people and just trying to better ourselves and everybody else who comes in with us as well, Steve. Basically.
100%, Yammy. I mean, look, for the viewers, back in the day when we first met, I mean, this isn't anything out of the ordinary, but we didn't actually get on. We had that thing, and we was kind of enemies at the start. We had a few fights, you know, a few rumbles here and there with stuff. But you know what I've always learned, Yammy, like you, that some of the people that you don't get on with in that way, you know, and they can be kind of enemies, turn out to be your greatest allies.
It's mad, Steve. Mad. When I look back over everything, I mean, in the end, obviously, they hear more about me and your story as time goes on, Steve. But by the end, in the Cat A's, we got to that friendship stage anyway, when we joined alliances together over one thing, changed everything from there. I never got to see you again until recently, Steve. But yeah, Steve, it's been a hard year, but it's been a great year also. And I'm just looking forward.
Well done with all your work, you know, and your transformation. It's like me, you know, I'm all over the place with a lot of stuff. But, you know, I'm going to go back because when I think about it, when you're in the dispersal prisons and you're a Cat A and you've got that immense pressure, Yammy, you know, that violence, when that door opens all the time, you're up against it, right? It does create a solidarity, doesn't it? Between the good guys, between the ones like-minded souls, right? You know, and this is why, you know, you form unbelievable friendships as well as deadly enemies, right? With all the gang culture in there. Yeah. Look, I just want to go back quickly for the viewers who may not know you, just to give us 5 minutes on you and your journey, where you was born, first time in prison, that kind of thing.
Yes, Steve. Well, you know, it started pretty badly for me. Broken home. Mum and dad went into care very early on, about 10 years old, 9 to 10, that suffered at the hands of abusers during that period, ended up stabbing one of them, and never really looked back really. And, you know, to think that I was over certain things when now knowing that there was a lot of things I was numb to over the years, Steve, it was basically just what the book's going to be called, really, Hopelessly Lost. And I know now that I made things much worse than they should have been. But again, you know, we can talk about self-esteem another time. But yeah, that was the journey. Started with the burgling, detention centre to march everywhere, childcare, prison early on, Stamford House, where I met a few people from then. And all the way up the ladder from juvenile to magistrates to adulthood, and then all the jails coming thick and fast, and category getting higher as the years went on, the more crazier that I became.
Progressive, right? You see, and this is the thing, right? You know, we're going to cover a lot of this fascinating content on this channel because, you know, there's not a lot of difference that I've seen in CEOs, high-level career criminals. These leadership skills, you know, there's a lot going on in human beings, right? You know, and we're going to go right into what this stuff is, how it works. But more importantly, we're going to go into the solutions, and we're going to give people the formulas of how to progress their life. Because the truth is, Yam, you know, everyone gets lost sometimes, some more than others. But everyone gets lost sometimes. It's the nature of the game. Yeah. It's the nature of being a human being and the journey. It's not about pointing fingers. That's the first thing. It's about learning by our lessons and correcting it and developing and elevating. Right, that's the first thing. You know, you like me, you had a lot of trauma growing up, right? A lot of trauma. So what do you think was the one main thing, if you could put it down to one thing, that was the real driver that propelled you to go down the wrong road early, Yammy?
I think I was just looking acceptance and a sense of belonging to whoever came along, whoever I thought was did it better than me in whatever way, albeit burglars, robbers, murderers, killers, fighting, and having, you know, been in the jungle for so long. It was basically that, Steve. And I gripped on because there was a lot of people that I loved in that life over the years, and I aspired to be like. So the more that I was around hierarchy criminals, the more I understood what kind of level, you know. So they said with that dictionary and the manual that you'd have to produce something the same or something worse or nuttier than everybody else did, you know. And there's all right, the cool guys, and we all got on, Steve, the well-known ones. But, you know, there was a lot of quiet ones as well. And you touch on talents and abilities. A lot of people underestimate a lot of prisoners, because I didn't realize that some of the things that I used to do naturally, and they were pointed out in recent times to me, that they're actually skills. You know, social, being happy, getting on with people, being quick to survive this and work out a plan for that. You know, all the manipulation, the deceitfulness, the connivingness, it all to survive in that game, you would need to have the best of all the worst traits, if you get what I mean.
You need to be multi-skilled. You know, you need to be a leader. You know, you need to have a sixth sense. You need to be able to get the answers quick. You know, you need to be able to work out people even quicker. You see, this is the fascinating thing about it. This is where we're going to go into this content, you know, and we're going to take it apart, right? Yes, you know, we're going to take it apart. We're going to do this with some big names. You know, we got people like Tony Francis coming on here, Whoopi Goldberg. You know, there's a lot of people from the States. Really, Yammy, it doesn't matter. You know, this is what I'm telling the audience. Everything is relevant. So look, tell us a bit more about that.
Right. So I, like you, Stephen, is that by way of solutions now, because everybody's been trying the models that they've been going on, you know, way back. They did the standard, basic, enhanced privilege schemes and all that. We've witnessed all the changes over the years. It hasn't really worked out. If anything, the prisons that we've frequented over the years, Steve, in fact, they're getting harder to run, with less facilities, short of staff, and with no real control over what's going on. And you have to ask yourself, do people even really care? Well, we care, because we're looking for people to be leaving prison to not be doing the things that they did to go back for. So, you know, right at the beginning of grassroots, I want to we will tear up the manual of when you're growing up and aspiring to walk and talk like much the way that it always was, but just on a higher scale now. You know, with the material elements and the glamorizing of things, you know, you need a new manual that basically says, yeah, you want to go and I want to be like him and get the respect in the estate like he gets. So how am I going to do it in the way that he's doing it? So then you have another bit that also says, no, you mustn't think like that, because it can lead to people like us spending years and years of causing harm to ourselves and everything. So it's dated now, Steve. We've got to come with the proper or a new way of doing stuff to cut down all the badness and harm that's going on amongst offenders these days, Steve.
Look, 100%. I mean, what we're dealing with here is we're dealing with a lot more intrinsic issues behind it. you know, from traumas. Because look, let's face it, me and you was there. I was released to Cat A. I started at Cat A. I was released to Cat A. You know, I had an observation squad outside the prison, Belmont's prison, waiting for me after 12 years of that crazy madness, out one door into another. What chance do you have?
No.
Right.
So
now, look, apart from that, we was there and we witnessed this. Now, there's a lot more going on. For human beings, obviously, we need to be needed. We need to be wanted. We need to be, all these innate drivers are relevant because these drive our behavior forward, right? But it's more than that. You know, when you get into these circles, what is actually happening? Yeah, I mean, you know, you're being groomed. From the guys on the street and we're coming up with the next one's coming up, we're being groomed. And then we're grooming the next one's up. It's just the way it is. Bodies are thrown in. You know yourself, Yam. You know yourself how this is. This is a treacherous business. There's no friends. You know, we've been to the bottom and we've been to the top of it, right? And it's, you know, there are better choices in life, right?
Yeah. Oi, Steve, it's got really chilling, to be honest, boy. The loss of life and, you know, the things that I've been witnessing over year in, year out and playing my role as a baddie, not feeling good about it, just to fit in. So it seems like you're giving the right advice when really, you know, when I'm looking back now, I'm thinking now I'm giving advice in a completely different way. So in the way that I always wanted to as well, Steve. But, you know, there's a lot of dark forces, like you say, inside of us that want to propel us into that life and be the worst of its kind.
This is for everyone, all of us. We're all part of the collective humanity, right? Now, I believe, and I know, and I've seen it, and it's a fact. I am living proof myself of it, that there is greatness, goodness, wonderfulness in all of us. One of our jobs is to decode that. We don't expect the world owes us a living, or everyone must drop at our feet, or any of this bullshit. It's not like that. It's actually about what we put in is what we get out. You know, a lot of supposed strengths in that life are pure weakness, Yammy. They're not strengths. You know that. There's no friends in this life. You know that. I've had friends, so-called friends in that life who knew me 25 years and set me up to get killed, to get murdered. If that's not friends. But I knew that. This was the game we're talking about. I have to be brutal about it because we're going to go straight to it and reveal exactly what it is, Yammy, and what it's not, right?
Yeah, great stuff, Steve. And I'm with you on that 100% because the underlying factors, because, you know, when I looked at mine, Steve, I realized all I had to do was tweak a few things in different ways of thinking and heartfelt, and then I'm the same person except that I don't want to be horrible and do any bad things to anybody. So mine's a little bit different. Not all of us are the same, but you know, to be setting out on that journey is to catch it before it starts. So the school curriculum, whichever way we're going to be discussing over the weeks, months, years ahead, Steve, it's by way of solution, because everything that's happened before, and sadly so, it has not worked out, big man. And that's the way that I'm seeing it. So anything we're bringing, dissecting the human behavior, the psychological aspects of growing up with one parent families, no families, going into care, not standing a chance, feeling victimized at school, getting bullied, feeling like you're no one, nowhere to run to. You know, there are places now they can run to, and that's the most important, because when we was younger, there was nowhere to run to. So the grooming into different stages is going to be, like they said, first you're going to go to DC, then you're going to go to Borstal, then you're going to go to adult. They were predicting that once we started on the journey, just by the way that we were doing it, Steve.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing. Do you know what? You're so right, because I can remember when I stood in the Old Bailey on the third trial for armed robbery. We fought it, you know, we went not guilty. You know, the police had fabricated evidence, Yammy. They put things in our pockets.
I remember.
They'd move things and all that.
Yep.
You know, there was shots fired. It was, you know, it was serious stuff, right? But when I stood in that dock and they come back with the guilty, and I stood up and they told us to stand up, and we stood up, and they was giving out all the years, it suddenly dawned on me, I always knew I was going to get this big lump of bird. Didn't know how or when. And that was the one thing I remember that went through my head, which is crazy, right? 17 years I got there, 14 with a 3 consecutive for another firearms. But look, That was going through my head. It's like, that is interesting in a way, because we know that our thoughts, our actions, our feeling, the people, the places, the things in our life, we are creating our own realities. We are creating our own futures. This is important to know. But look, let's play devil's advocate. Tell me one of the great things that you think, if there is any great things about that life that you think is a really good thing.
I can't honestly answer that one, Steve. I can't give you one good one, to be honest, boy. If you think you're going to make lots of friends, we've already wiped that out the window with what I thought where the love was going to all the wrong places to get the feedback, especially if you know better. And then you've got the conflict between the two characters, because if you're a real softy on the sly, but then you want to act tough and hard just because everybody's there and go to the worstest extremes, we know which was I was the classic people pleaser. But it's so funny, Steve, that, you know, now I remember like when I was down a Seg and you was going for your meal out the door and I was calling you, and I remember you said something to me and I went, "You all right out there, Steve?" And you went, yeah, sweet, Yam. Oi, but I knew in my heart of hearts I was laughing because I knew, having known you for a little while, then I knew that you wasn't all right. Do you see what I mean? It's just all a fake game that you need energies and characters like how we was, and it makes everybody else feel, but it's the wrong message. Because again, you're holding up the big talk when you're growing up.
Yeah.
This is great for us. Look, Yammy's all right, so that means it's all right. But no, Yammy wasn't right. Steve wasn't right. It was complete and utter bollocks. You know that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, that's so true, because in them places, like out here in some kind of way, but certainly in there's different faces. People are very good at hiding their stuff, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I want to just get to this. You know, there's the face you have in the landing. There's your face behind your door. There's a face you have with your family. There's your own face. What I can say to that is the real success and happiness and forward motion into good stuff that you've always wanted is about you being you, not something else, or what people think you should be, or what the world says you should be, or you have to be some stereotype and fit into some box. Actually, success is in your individuality. It's in your depth as a human being. It's in your authenticity. And again, I'll say, this is where a big part of our job is to uncode that, Yammy, to find that. Our problem of it is, especially for me and you, and human beings as a whole, it seems, is we have to fall down so hard for so long until we actually start getting the wisdom that means something here. This is what the content's about, right? Because we're going to pull it apart, but we're looking for the solutions here, you know, and we're giving the great experience that we have.
Yeah, because
just say about that,
That's right, Steve. Because they've done it in all the ways they've done it, but the dissecting of the behaviors and longing to be something that you're not, that's going to be so harmful for everybody concerned. You know, just to have them in them early doors to say, it's not like they haven't got all the intelligence that is different and much more beneficial to the police and all the other people in authority and higher positions now. They know where the drug dealers are. They know where the guns are. They know where the groups are. They know where everything is. So they know all that. So basically, they're doing more of a containing thing and just lock them up. And that's all well and good. But at the same time, the reasons why, because me and you both know that what you sound like or what you look like, we know from great experiences, having dealt with some of the most wickedest, evilest, saddest, baddest, whatever way you want to call a lot of us over the years, you know, because I used to come out that door thinking, I wonder what Steve's thinking. I wonder what's he's. When I prepare for my days, not a lot of people do that. A lot of people come out their doors sleepy-eyed and whatnot. But with us lot, we all shot out the door because you know that we're living with our stuff overnight, and you know you have to be up for it. But how damaging was that for me? So now I look back on that. Now it was a skill, but how damaging just to waste your days thinking what's Steve thinking. I wonder what he's going to do next. I wonder what, you know, it's very, very, very traumatic. And that's with the traumatic things that happened from the past as well before you reach to that stage. So you're just doing more trauma. I used to say to a lot of them that go and live down the segs, I used to say to them, you're going to find out how damaging that really is in the future, waking up and having fisticuffs every morning with the shields and everything, Steve. You know, some of those men that did it that way for so long, they can't, they're not here to tell the tale, or they're in other institutions of different kinds now.
Yeah. Do you know what? Look, there were so many people who we knew. Some of them was wonderful friends of ours. I mean, these are good men we're talking about who could have been anything, really. But they found themselves in that life, on that journey, and they're in there never to see daylight again. We also know there's a lot of our friends, bless them, they're not here.
Yeah.
Same journey.
Yeah.
Now, look, you know, we also know that, look, you know, in this life, I call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah, it's like you said there. You know, we've really met them all. You know, we've seen people killed in front of us in there enough times. We've seen people maimed in there. This is a regular occurrence. Yeah. It is what it is, right? But, you know, there you go. But outside, you know, I've also been involved in that cat and mouse game, who gets who first. And look, you know, the fact of it is that this life, if you're in that life, a lot of money will go through your hands, but money is an energy, and the very energy of it, because it's wrong, you never get to keep it anyway. Not for long anyway. But if you do, let's talk about the ones that small percentage who get so over the hill that they have all this stuff. They have to fortify themselves behind eye walls. They're sick with the paranoia. Yeah. They can't enjoy it. And this is to hold on to what they got. So I have to say, there's no winners in this life, right?
No, there's no success stories at the end of it, because you could have made how much you want to be made. If you can't be outward with it, because you still have to cover your tracks with the money that's coming in. It's an endless. So all that energy that you put in to trying to outthink by wearing a chain that captures the limelight, by wearing, that's because remember, a lot of youngsters are fooled by money means power and all that. Yeah. Firstly, you've got to understand that the soul and being who you are and being nice, and you know that this is the way that it was meant to be. That from the early teachings, we know now a lot of stuff that we was taught at school weren't really as beneficial as we would like to have believed way back in the day, Steve. And the kids now, I'm afraid, they're jumping on much earlier than us. And, you know, you've got to put it into perspective, the serious nature and gravity for all concerned with the waste food. You know, with COVID and the times we're living in, you know, if I had my way, I'd like to squash all the beef there ever was, because no one in later life, they might say, oh, yeah, we'll do. But if them beefs haven't been addressed, they stay with you forever. Some of the smallest things I've done in life come back to haunt me. And I think, oh, I wish I could put that one right. Well, the only way you're going to do it is by giving back and doing it honestly, doing it truthfully, and making people that who aspire to be in that life, Steve, is to put them off.
It's about peace. It's about progress. It's about building stuff. It's about being happy. It's about having a meaningful, healthy life with, you know, people you love and people who love you, people you support and people who support you for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. Okay, let me ask you, look, what was the worst thing that you ever seen in them places in prison, Yammy?
The worstest thing? No, I've seen the worstest of the worstest.
There are so many, right?
There are so many.
I get it, but I'm, you know, there'll be a top 10 up here, the same as me. You know, I have this stuff in my head till today. But look, I'm asking you, the one thing, Yammy, what would it be?
It was the one in Wayland, and I watched him drop in front of me, and he died. And it was over the yeast. I remember the build-up. In fact, it was all the wrong communications, and he just died. And that was one of the early deaths in the systems, and that was in a CCAT. So we know the chances. We saw it happen in the A's time after time, where bodies are being found, and a lot of people don't hear about those things regularly. But you know, even them days, Steve, it couldn't happen in any prison. And the silly arguments that go on with no communication, and someone take it to the extreme with an articled blade, you know, or a weapon, the kind of things that I used for a lot of those years. To keep myself safe kind of thing, Steve, you know, to witness that, to know then that you know, you could not be looking for a fight but still die in prison, then you've got to say that it's the worstest.
Knowledge, instruction, and learning, Yammy, is a big part of this. I mean, I remember back in the day, you know, I wrote my book now, you know, it's out there, it's a bestseller, The Monkey Puzzle Tree, going to be a film and all that. But apart from that, I can remember in them blocks, I started my writing journey there because it was so violent, you know, and they wouldn't give us anything. You know, all we would have was bar of soap, a pen, a paper. For me, that was a way to escape. That was a way to get my mind out and create something beautiful, to feel better about myself, you know, and this is where I started. You know, I was very booky in them times. You know, I love knowledge. You know, I thirsted for knowledge. There's a terrible waste of life in there, right? You know, that we've seen. This is a terrible, unnecessary waste, right? Happens out here too, right? Too much. But look, one of the things I want to say is look, one of the worst things that I think as well is to have a life, a wonderful life, the gift of a wonderful life, no matter of the twists and turns to it, waste time, come to the end of it, and then actually wasted talent and wasted time.
That's the good thing, you see. No matter how late it is to learn, it's a true saying, you know, because it's too late. Especially with all the knocks, me and you, time after time, you've got it sorted a bit quicker than me, Steve. I had to go through everything time and time and repeating, getting the same pain and then not even acknowledging it because you're so used to suffering and it going wrong that you have to make a life for yourself in there because you know that you can't stay out there. So, you know, the best way, the kind of thinking that goes behind that mad thinking that I had, one of the elements is, all right, well, I'm not going to be out, so I'll live in there the way I would have out there. But hold on a minute, Yammy, you meant to have been trying to not do it that way. Do you see what I mean? But these are where, you know, the bitterness and you don't know that you're bitter to some things because you still think that you're happy and really, but really you're behaving in a way like a child would. Well, you lot done that. I'll fire back with that one. You can't hurt me. Ha, 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 ha. But, you know, Steve, it's that kind of thing. But hold on a minute. They don't care, Yammy. They're going to wind you up forever. Wound you up so much that you died was a vegetable. And they said you'd never walk and use your hands again. These are the kind of things, you know, that 40-year run that I had from institutions all the way up, Steve. You know, this is the ending that someone as crazy as I was or wanted to be the way that I ended up as a sad man, really, Steve.
Another thing I want to ask you, because you see what I want to invite people to think about, and this is another very key thing in progress, getting what you want, you know, and ending up where you want to be as a person, is the divine in all things and the divine timing, you know, and they're forgetting, you know, I want people to think a moment about their purpose, not no one else's purpose. What is actually their purpose? What do they need to be doing and where do they need to end up? Now, listen, what I want to ask you, Yammy, is, okay, what's the solutions? Let's keep it quick fire a little bit because this is a massive subject. We're going to talk more about this in other podcasts, right? Yeah. No doubt. You know, I look forward to that, Yammy, right? Because we're actually, you know, if you want to call about experts in this thing, we can certainly say we've been from the bottom to the top of it, right? We've had the whole experience, right? What are the solutions to stop, you know, for people out there, to stop people having to lead such destructive lives when they're worth so much more? We can save them so much pain and they can be so successful in the world.
Firstly, Steve, it's to know their true self. You've got to know that. Everybody's got some kind of ability and talents in them. Steve, you know, some people might have many, some people less, some people more. You know, it's like a man we used to be when we used to be in the classes as school prisoners. There'd be one man that couldn't speak in groups and loud, but when you see him draw, you know, you think, well, hold on a minute, I can't hold a torch to that, you know, because you know that there's some great artists in prison and things we've seen over the years, and they have all little painting galleries and that for that kind of stuff, Steve. But the three things is yourself. You've got to realize that the time you're going to waste in that life, you would have been better off doing it in a more loving, straight way and building up from base, if you like.
That's great. That's great. Look, I have to agree with you there. Even with entrepreneurs, we train entrepreneurs at all different stages of development. But I tell them the same thing. It's inward. The further you can reach in is the further you will reach out. If you don't know yourself, how can you know what you want, what skills you need, and where you need to go? It is about the authenticity and the depth of us as a human being, and where the real power to do what we're meant to do in this life is. So I'd have to agree. Give me something else. Something else as well.
I'll tell you why as well, Steve. Very, very good question as well, because if I'm talking about, obviously, I talk about me and the things that I see now in front of me that I think, well, hold on a minute. You've got knowledgeable people around. You've got so many helpers that are different in all the ways that other people do it. These days, you can almost say, yeah, well, hold on, I know Stevie Gillen. He's good at that kind of stuff. And then you can go there. These are things that I never knew, that a simple left and a simple right. No one's beyond help, Steve. And there are good people out there that will be able to see certain things in you. It's no good getting bright ideas of thinking you're going to be like a glossy rap star with all the jewels on and all that kind of, fit yourself in where you feel most at ease. If you're more inward, more introverted, more extroverted, then, if you like sports, if you like reading, if you like writing, depending on what it is, don't place yourself in positions where you're not going to be able to handle. There's no such thing as a big dong criminal and this and that. It's all absolutely shit. So you have to come to terms with the realization that who you aspire to be, it's not really realistic. It's not really like The Godfather. It's not really like, Robert De Niro in what was the little one when they were kids? That was proper
Goodfellas.
Time in proper film, sad with the emotion, but very, very kind of realistic story. But again, didn't end the way that it all set out things, and those are in the stories.
Be careful not to live someone else's life, because this is the thing.
And it's yours.
And sometimes, let me tell you, I've had this experience myself. And I've seen it with countless successful people I have around, around me in my life, in all different industries, is that where you start, it's not necessarily where you're meant to go. They have found success, like me, in many other ways that they didn't think that they wanted to choose at the start. It's the journey that forges us. The thing is to do in the right way with the right people. And then it reveals itself. But the key to unlocking that is always us. It's about us being truthful. It's about us owning our stuff, being accountable. It's about not being too selfish. Think of others. Be open to learn. Have some humility. Be courageous to the right things. Be brave to the right things. Be resolute and have value to the right people, places, and things.
I know, it's mad. Everyone's in that life. I mean, the youngsters go, no one's like fearful of actually losing their life. They might be in some scenarios. I might speak for myself a little bit when I didn't mind dying and all that. It makes you very, very dangerous, Steve. But you're prepared to go through all that, listen to the keys at the door day and night and do the homework of what landing Steve's on, where is he based up there, if I come and do it from that way and all that. But in reality, Steve, you could do it, save yourself so many problems and just say, you know what, like I started on this journey just for out of kindness, especially after being a vegetable, Steve. I just felt it was my duty to give them the real story, not to glamorize it, Steve, to show them what really a lot of us really were wallies in some make-believe land that in the end we was all going to sit around and have a beer and go, yeah, do you remember this when that was all right and all that? But no one seems to be doing that no more, Steve, because you know why? They all worked out that we're not all right, and that life, it didn't bring us a lot of any kind of happiness, really. Your relationships, all kind of things, Steve. We could go on and on, and which we will do with it, Steve. But the position I'm at now is basically giving back out of nothing but love. And like you said, my eyes being opened along the journey. Oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that the stuff that you've been telling me already, Steve, has been opening my eyes and going, I never thought about it that way. This is what happens when you're on the right path.
I want to come back to another important thing you said earlier, because it's really, really key. And I learned this from great mentors. My first mentor, he was 40. He earned £30 million by he was 40 in business. He was a wonderful person. He was the first person that showed me that you can have it all. You can actually have a beautiful wife, actually be happy, actually be a person of value, do all of these things, be really successful, not to have to destroy, but just pure create with a beautiful energy, wonderful person. But it's about what you said about, and I call it translating your environment. It's all about people, places, and things. They can be with you or for you. You need to be shrewd enough to know which one that is for you at any given moment. But look, it's like you said, it doesn't matter how big a hole you're in. Around the corner, there's always another shiny day. And it is about being grateful. But have a look of the people, places, and things that are actually in your life, in your environment, where if you're open to learn, or you're open to give, or you're open to come with a different approach, that you could go to them and you could change the whole trajectory of where you are just by that one chess move, Yammy, by that one movement. I do it all the time because I'm aware of this. You see, what happens is many people get stuck in a certain reality. It's like they have the blinkers on, but there's so much more going on. And again, I say, this is where the false thing comes in, because there's nothing worse than that to blind you to the real reality of what's going on.
Mad, isn't it?
You're not blinded. You see all corners of the room, Yammy.
Mad.
That's another thing I wanted to say about translating your environment to help you. But when you go to people, it's about going in the right way with the right heart, because they will respond in the way that you go to them, right?
Yeah, as I'm finding, Steve, I'm overwhelmed with you know, like I like all that with the followers. You know, there's so many people suffering around us, Steve. You know, like it's like kind of therapy as well. That's why I've given so much of my story away before the books come out. Now we're going to be moving on, you know, to the chat shows and whatnot and that kind of stuff. But you know, Steve, I just love it when someone says to me, "Thank you, Yammy, for taking the time." You know, that means more to me. So it's the same people pleasing, if you like. But I get rewarded. There's no bad conscience in me. I'm not thinking I've done anything wrong by doing it. Obviously, I've got to only do what I'm humanly impossible to what I can do with the tools that I've got. But, you know, with you, Steve, with other organizations, we don't want to just go on there and be talking, don't do this. You know, I'm not the headmaster at school. We want to point you into the directions of that company and that charity, women that have been hurt domestically, you know, people that have been raped, you know, people that have suffered, you know, with dyslexia and people skills and not too much confidence. We want areas around where I can say to you, well, hold on, I've got a place. I know somebody. So, you know, if you could like to take out the time to contact them in there, this is the vision. It can only be the vision, because there's only so much counseling that you can give to people. Talking's all right, but I didn't listen for most of it, Steve. You know, I realize now the importance. You see how quickly I'm listening now in later life, that everyone's got a value on what they say. It's so easy to dismiss a text message, to dismiss someone's voice messages because you think you've got too much to do and whatnot. It's so important that you listen carefully. You know, because it could be in one line that the person, and it might not be much that they're asking for, Steve, but I just like to remind them all that, yes, I am going to be that person for my channel. People do it different the way that they do it, but with me, that's going to be the blueprint for help.
Yammy, look, let me just say, I'm so proud of you is the first thing. I am, you know, because I always knew you as a wonderful guy. You know, we started off, we had a long journey together. You know, we're talking 20 plus years, right? You know, of knowing each other, going through horrendous challenge together, right? In all shapes or form. One of the things I loved about you, Yammy, was you was always consistent, like me. You know, you wasn't trying to be something else. You was yourself. I mean, that comes with its good things and its bad things, like it did with me. But, you know, it was what it was.
They used to think, oh, he's all right. He's not. But then when you do change now, they're like, oh, I didn't think he was like that. Do you see what I mean, Steve? You was more that way. To me, you was always like, well, in later life anyway, when I saw you, when I was really down, and you was generous. Not a greedy person, Steve. I know I used to nick a bit of coffee too much and all that. I like to apologize for all that, because your bag of coffee used to go very quickly with me, you know, that kind of stuff, Steve. But it was always welcome, and I knew the times to come and when not to come. Do you see what I mean, Steve? But also we witnessed suicides together, Steve. Some very big names and serious stuff. That, you know, you kind of give me the hint beforehand, or vice versa, and then them things happen before our very eyes, Steve. And it's things like that. What the prevention of those kind of things? How would we?
We spoke about that, didn't we? A good friend of mine, particularly a good friend of ours, but a good friend of mine who I used to have it with. David Croak. You know, he was a high level criminal, wasn't he? He was a good friend of mine. You know, I used to have a lot of time with David and stuff like that. And you know,
again,
there are a few more. Very sad. What a waste. What a waste.
You know, like for Desi Cunningham, for the Dave Croak.
Desi, another one.
There's criminal. You know, you
wonderful
never saw
guy, Desi.
in their eyes that would make you think that they would commit suicide. This is why I tell you, it's not what it seems, because you might be a hard man having a row or whatever, but there's two elements to us all where there's bits where you're going to be weaker. There's no such thing of people not having weaknesses, Steve. And that's what you realize in later life with human beings from all walks of life. It takes this self-obsession away from yourself when you see so much going on before your eyes, that I feel privileged to be standing here today, to be able to be in that position to give back, and give back without anything. What do they call it? Altruism, for nothing in return, Steve. To the best of my thing, which again satisfies my before I pass. And whatever, not putting gloom on anything, but that was my original outlook for starting this journey, Steve. You know,
there's a time and a time. It's never too late to become something else. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. What are human beings but a load of energy, a load of experience, a load of instruction, knowledge, a patchwork quilt that is put together to form a self. You know, we start as a blank sheet. I've always said this. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to re-educate yourself, reinvent. You can become anything that you want, but better that you do that than you never do that at all, right? This is the crime. There's no pain in learning. You know, if you're gonna make mistakes, I say make them quickly. Make as many as you can and make them quickly and get them out of the way.
If you know you was wrong, then you make sure you satisfy your soul to make it as right as possible. Because what you might know, there's a lot of people. These are why a lot of criminals, big names from the past, they don't come out, because you know it's not seen like the right thing to come out and change from being the way you was, and you know the stigma behind that. We know now it's changing a little bit, but then you lie there and you think then that before it's all done and dusted, that you're going to say, no, that I was perfectly right in what I lived and what I did and the way that I did it and the message I sent out to everybody. It was all just a smoke screen and make believe, as we're going to dissect over the coming weeks and months and years, Steve, hopefully.
Absolutely. Look, Yam, you know, I know that we never done anything wrong in that life under any of them supposed rules, right? You know, and I know there was also a lot of people there, they didn't do a tenth of what we've done. But it doesn't really matter. You know, there it is. Look, one of the most valuable things you have, Yammy, like me, is your experience and your content. Look, I have to commend you, brother, for all of what you're doing at the moment, for opening up your heart and your knowledge and taking steps to go forward to propagate that knowledge out. I know in a way that is going to improve lives. I mean, I've learned there is no better thing that I can certainly do in my life, which is improve the lives of others. Because the money, the success, we're only borrowing this anyway. You know, there's a lot more going on here than that. Yes, we need, you know, you work hard. It's good to, you know, it's good to have things for your family. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're only borrowing this stuff anyway. There has to be more than that. It's about the journey and the purpose. Look, tell us a little bit about your book. I know you're doing a book. What you're doing now, Ian?
Well, we're getting, like I said, we're getting ready for the podcast that should be one up today or tomorrow, Steve. The first one on It Is What It Is TV. But the book, that's a third of the way through. I'm doing it at the moment once a week with my publisher. By way of audio book as well, Steve. So that Hopelessly Lost basically just says exactly what it was with my life, you know. So I'm hoping by about summertime, June, that time, that's going to be out. So at least we're putting more effort and work into that now that the channel's about to start changing and doing bigger things as well, Steve. So I've basically done a play on all genders, all races, all kind of stuff. Day-to-day prison officers, couple of scenes done already, and obviously I'll be keeping you updated on that, amongst other things as well. But yeah, my talks I'm doing online with schools and certain companies that, you know, young delinquents as well. I'll be doing a little bit of that. Yeah, Steve, and as well as my godly stuff, which you know about, where, you know, I'll be getting baptized fully soon as well. So that's going to be a big thing in my life, because the first thing I do every day is check in with the Father first to keep me grounded, Steve. That's how I start my days, and you know, long and behold, it helps me. If I never listen to anyone, at least I listen to him.
Thanks for having this interview today.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Going over the content we have. You're a wonderful guy. We go back a long way.
Thanks,
you know, I
Steve.
know you very well.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Well done for all the wonderful work that you're doing in the community now. I know we're going to see a lot more from you.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm going to be, my people, my businesses are certainly going to be helping you. My contacts on that as well.
Yeah, Steve.
Absolutely. You know, you're doing a lot of good. So look, listen, it's been great to have you here. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Steve. Funny, isn't it, Steve, really, when I think about it, old boy? Coming up there on the freeze to your cell right at the end there, boy. It's just so funny about when I look back, you know, when I'm staring at you now, it feels a touch of unreality about it. But why shouldn't it, Steve? You know, but yeah, just wishing you well, Steve. And it's a pleasure that, you know, we started working together. And I mean, proper bits of work this time, Steve. Not the work that we used to talk about. But yeah, it's so great to finally worked it all out, Steve. But yeah, thanks for having me today, big man.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. You are a true testament that you can go through so much adversity, change your life for the better, improve lives, and really become anything you want. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Stephen. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys, for listening in on another gripping edition of The Big Shift with me, Stephen Gillen. We really look to inspire and really help and support our audiences in business and entrepreneurship out there. Stay tuned for much more great content and many other benefits. Have a look in the bio below. Follow me there, guys, for a lot more other great things that will be coming to support you on your wonderful journey.